TDS isn't a perfect game. Just like other games, it has bugs and glitches, gameplay issues, and bad updates. Except TDS is different because the game is broken and it makes you want to question your sanity from playing the game. So I'll be going over all the big problems from game optimization to the level of quality in the updates to even the unfair balancing of the game. Before I talk about all these issues, I just want to make it clear to you guys, I don't hate the devs or the game. I just think the game hasn't been doing the best for a long time, in which it can be way better. So now, let's get into the video. The first issue is quite obvious, which is the bad optimization the game has. The game is so laggy now that I go from 200 frames per second at the start of one game to less than 30 at the end of the game, even with a pretty good PC. This makes the game look on average 5 times laggier than it should usually be. On other games, I don't really suffer this issue, so it's more of a TDS problem. I'm not certain of how things work, yet I do think the general fix for these problems should be a straight up overhaul that aims to fix performance issues. TDS just needs to focus on optimization of the game way more compared to the other things that they are working on, since the game is very unplayable at the moment. The next issue with TDS is the rushed updates. Updates are what keep the game fresh, and it's no surprise that the new content, towers, visuals, and other changes to the game are what keep the game relevant. But the way TDS pushes these updates is not the best. TDS adds more bugs than fixes, and each new content update feels either too small or too rushed. It's understandable that the new PvP mode will be released with issues, which are issues that can be fixed over time, but after 5 years of waiting for PvP, I can't help but see it as a disaster. The PvP game mode was way too repetitive with the enemy sending mechanic that makes the players spam either enemies that have the best economy boosting stats or enemies that defeat your opponent, both lacking any need for sending with thought. You can also use an auto clicker at that point. The only reason to play PvP is for the accelerator skin. The skin is good looking, sure, but the extra rewards you gain along the way just makes playing PvP not worth it.
Oh my god, bro. Oh hell no, man.
What's funny is that every recent TDS update gets a bug fix or a feature change immediately after it drops. When the skill trees update dropped, TDS immediately announced that skills were going to be cheaper, and another instance is the PvP update. They fixed bugs right after the update dropped, showing how rushed TDS updates usually are. But sometimes TDS doesn't even bother to change the feature at all. Forgotten features with a lot of potential like challenge maps and consumables haven't been changed in over a year. Most consumables are useless and outclassed, and some are way too strong like the Molten Monster and the Nuke, dealing more than hundreds of thousands of damage for no reason. And challenge maps use the outdated Fallen wave structure from 5 years ago, feeling as if you are playing Legacy Fallen. Most of the time TDS devs either glance at over a feature as if the issue didn't exist, or they can't even see the obvious flaw with the game. The last major issue with TDS is unfair balancing. TDS balancing has not been the best for over 3 years, and it's understandable that when TDS has 50 towers, it won't have the perfect balancing. But when there's this much power creep, it becomes a big issue. The first example of unfair balancing is the starter towers. After beating the tutorial, you get 450 coins for free after buying the demo man tower, making it possible to buy the soldier. Obviously, since the soldier is better than the scout, which is free, this makes the scout now become useless. Another example of the unfair balancing is that the militant also costs 650 coins, which if you beat the easy mode once and did not get the soldier tower, you can just buy militant, which is better than the hunter and soldier in every way. This is a clear example of power creep in TDS. Power creep isn't always a bad thing, but when it makes some towers useless, then those towers might as well not exist. Which is how there are filler towers in TDS. They trick people into using these towers when they aren't even good. Unlike TDS, in the game B2B6, every tower has a use and none are outclassed, but TDS has way too many filler towers, including starter towers and even event towers, which can also be considered filler since they are purposely made to be weaker than the other towers because of the fact it is limited. The devs don't want event towers to be better than regular towers, which makes event towers underwhelming but for a fair reason. Event towers are also only available by beating a certain event or paying Robux for one, making it impossible to unlock 17 towers if you didn't do either. This is a lot since TDS has around 50 towers if you aren't counting golden perks. If TDS made some event towers a permanent tower like the Archer or Slasher, as they fit more like a regular tower rather than an event tower, it would be a lot better for the game since there are way too many event towers considered to be filler in the game. TDS also needs to rebalance starter towers so that it doesn't become filler because intermediate towers are only slightly more expensive, yet a lot better. There are also some extremely strong towers like the Swimmer which can deal high DPS to the final bosses, making absurd challenges like Solo Hardcore possible with just 2 towers. Towers like the Shotgunner, which by itself isn't bad, but it becomes broken with the Firework Technician Tower, as every pellet counts for fireworks effect, making it one of the most cost-efficient towers ever because of this combination. Mercenary Base is also another example because of the Riot Shield unit. When the airdrop ability is used, it can deal over 10,000 damage with one use. You can even sell and replace to ignore the cooldown, and while being very expensive to do, it is still worth it to do with the extra cash you have left over at the final wave. These are the 4 main towers that really need a nerf. You can also argue that towers such as the Ranger or Pursuit have no weakness in the late game since they have stun immunity and infinite range. Then there's towers like Commander or DJ giving way too much value with their boots. These towers should probably get a small nerf, but right now they are really way too strong. Currently the game modes in TDS are way too easy right now. With how strong and overpowered the towers are, it's possibly the hardest game modes with just the most absurd restrictions like Hardcore with literally 1 slot, or even being fallen with 1,000 coins. I shouldn't even have to explain how dumb that is for game modes to be beatable with such ease. The game modes just need a huge rework right now, and I don't understand how they are this easy. Anyways, this is all I have to say about the game. I also feel as if TDS has started caring less about the game because of how they handled bugs. It's been a whole year since the consumables update, which brought a lot of major bugs, and the game is still filled with thousands of bugs, and the devs haven't even talked about how there are this many bugs, showing how broken the game is. With features being added like skill trees and consumables, further making the game even easier, and TDS not even being transparent with the community anymore, it's safe to say TDS doesn't care anymore. I'm making this video because I don't want Alter Ego, which is the new game TDS is making right now, to fall in the same way as TDS being constantly hated by the community because of the updates being half-baked. Anyways, this is all I have to say, and TDS is still doing alright, but it still has many flaws. And anyways, if you enjoyed this yap, just like the video and subscribe, I guess.